So, in regards to the interview you did with Esther Perel and Diane Adams, which is really good about polyamory, someone said, would these academic people think differently if they lost their prosperity? I'm convinced they would. These are results of access. Prosperity is based on building blocks of a stable and monogamous marriage-based family. When a man passes away, which of his 8 females gets the deed to his house, and what does that fight look like? The son of which of his wives takes over the family business? Prosperity derives in part from one generation building upon the prior generation's prosperity. In lower income families, prosperity derives in part from multiple people working, having only one set of bills for their living expenses. These people take access from their cushy prosperity and way of living and confuse that wealth with not having to be responsible for nurturing our prosperity, instilling stability, and preparing our youth and cultivating our culture through the means of tradition.
Cool.
So it was a thoughtful comment.
Yeah, it's super thoughtful.
And
I'm Reid Mahalko, by the way, but readaboutsex.com.
I'm Cathy from theintimacydojo.com.
And whoever wrote that in, thank you. Very thoughtful. Now we will discuss.
Yes. So to me, some of that thought comes from the assumption that the wives can't take, like if there's multiple women in the relationship, that they won't support each other or support themselves. Mm-hmm. So I don't assume that if I'm dating a male that he's going to leave me as property or he's going to take care of me, because I actually can take care of myself. And some of that is I'm very privileged. I have a good job, I have a good education that lets me bring in an income that is comfortable to do that. But I think that basing the assumption on a male must bring in the money and leave things to his wives or his partners for them to be self-sufficient is assuming that women can't take care of themselves when there's a lot of single moms out there kicking butt and taking names. They're working really hard. But it's in order to have a stable relationship, a stable livelihood, I don't think that you need to have one man, one woman, and the woman relying on the male.
Well, from that thoughtful comment, I can't tell what culture or what part of the world that person's from, and to acknowledge that there are places in the world where non-monogamy isn't cool,
right? And
that old world versions of how to survive are still in place.
Right. And they worked pretty well for most people.
Well, I mean, if you happen to be monogamous and heteronormative, then these things can work great. And if you can bear children, like all these things can work really well. And I think there might be better ways of looking at things. Yeah. But at the same time, if the idea is the passing on of wealth, then ideally a man and a woman should only have a son-child.
One.
So having more children
spreads it out.
Screws it up.
Yeah.
And then the children are fighting over things. But we don't think that's bad.
Right.
So if you raise people to be able to be great communicators and fair and just, and have high emotional IQs, which I think and to be compassionate and loving, which I think most people wouldn't disagree with, as kind of like, these are things that seem to make people good people. Mm-hmm. If everybody had that kind of self-awareness and compassion and emotional IQ, then the complexity of a family can be worked through by people asking for what they want and negotiating and making, air quotes, compromises, which further the family unit. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at it from a family unit perspective and you actually focus on people's training people and teaching people to be good people, I think really what we're back to now is like, what's your self-expression in family, in love, in relationships, and the prosperity piece then kind of gets handled because the lineage can be worked through. The challenge is a lot of people don't have high emotional IQs,
whether
are
they're
very
monogamous
scarce,
or polyamorous,
very scarcity driven, And so unevolved people, monogamous or poly, tend to have a fucking hard time with things, and maybe even amassing wealth. So that would be my answer. I hope that was thoughtful.
And I know a number of poly families that are poly groups that have different formations. It's not always one man with several women. It's a mixture of things. And some of them don't have a very high income, but they actually can support each other. There are times when they choose to live together in a single house. You can have more incomes with still that single bill. Mm-hmm. So it's just a different way of looking at it. And if your sole goal is to amass wealth and stability, then that might fit in there too. But there's other things that people look for happiness and fulfillment in life. Mm-hmm. So,
what do you think?
Yeah.
Leave some comments below. Write in. We love answering that stuff.
Thanks, guys.